the scourge of millennial writing, which sadly has given me terminal cancer. And if you
still got all your hair, that's a miracle.
Well, I've chosen to go the Walter White route of screw it.
Right. You're making meth now, okay. I'll
I
stay
mean,
on your good side.
and not for the first time.
Self-incriminating now.
They'll never catch me. Anyway, so you may have experienced this before, you may have encountered it, which is the millennial writing. I first came across the term through this man's account, Shredded Nerd. He's got a couple of videos on these sorts of things. A recent video came out of called Millennial Critics, I think it was, where he was insulting like Zero Punctuation and Yahtzee and people like that. And he also did this one, a follow-up called Millennial Characters. And I think you can identify millennial writing through a few of the things that he identifies in these videos. To sum a little bit of them up, I would recommend you watch them, though. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you are a millennial who writes things. Millennial writing is just the name that has been given to this colloquially.
It's sort of
so you can be a millennial who's a good writer. Yeah, so it's a bad term.
It's a style of writing.
It's a style of writing, exactly.
Right. Okay.
And you can identify it through a few things, which is a reliance on irony and insincerity. Nothing is allowed to be serious for too long. You can see this through, ironically enough, boomer Joss Whedon style writing, where things can be serious for a few minutes at a time, but every serious scene has to end with a quip.
It is a product of emotional insecurity and a fear of rejection.
Oh, that's a very interesting take. I just thought it's because of the fact that he's a hack.
That too.
Yeah, although I still quite like Firefly.
Did he make Firefly?
He wrote that. He wrote Firefly, yeah. He also wrote the original Buffy show.
Oh, I like that as well.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Joss Whedon, he kind of started the trend while at the same time kind of having some good shows behind him at the same time. So you could forgive it with him, because with him, it was new. It was a new style of writing that was interesting and funny and
he
quippy.
Kept on leaning into it.
Well, it was more that he then did the first Avengers film, and then the rest of Marvel decided to do it as well, and then because Marvel was the big popular franchise, everyone else started to do it as well, but without even a fraction of the talent that Joss Whedon originally displayed when he was writing this stuff back in the early 2000s. But it does serve to undercut the kind of emotional stakes of any story that you're being told. It's also got the constant pop cultural references that you as the audience are just expected to get. This could be a holdover from Family Guy, which a lot of people of millennials and my generation would have grown up watching. Constant swearing for no reason. They just think it makes them sound cool and mature.
I really dislike that.
A lot of shouting. They talk like babies, but throw in lots of swearing in their baby talk, and it's very, very annoying.
I tell you what I really dislike that's probably going to get some people upset at me, but I really didn't like the film Step Brothers, because it was basically...
I hate that film.
It was two reasonably good comic actors playing
when they're in the right role.
Yeah.
But Will Ferrell has a bad tendency to go for characters who are just random loud noises and shouting. Mm-hmm. That's kind of his style.
Yeah, I don't really like that.
No, me neither. It's also very flippant in its depictions of violence, where the writers clearly have never experienced real-life violence, so they kind of tend to glorify it and revel in it. See, for instance, the Boys TV show, where everything is as gross as possible, as gory as possible, because really, you can just tell these writers have never been punched in the face when they were growing up.
I watched a film once where a woman was in the back seat of a car and she took off her shoe and hit this huge guy next to her and knocked him out with her shoe.
Must have been some very heavy shoes.
No, it was just... I think it was just this. It was written by a millennial woman.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the stories themselves and the world that they establish for these stories tend to only reflect the cosmopolitan city environments and attitudes of the writers, who have no attempt to think outside of themselves, completely self-obsessed and very, very lazy in its social commentary. And as a result of this, the themes always tend to be about depression, mental health problems, and get celebrated for doing things like the Reddit. It had a realistic depiction of a panic attack in it. That's something that has popped up quite often.
Solipsistic is the word I think you wanted there.
Yes, and yeah, it's characters that are only reflections of the writer, only appeal to the writer, and one of my least favourite things, only ever speak in the writer's voice. Now, an example of this, I was unfortunate enough that a few years ago, my missus decided to start watching the Amazon Prime Doom Patrol TV show, and I was unfortunate to be trying to read in the living room, for instance, while she was watching it at full blast volume, and so had the misfortune of hearing the dialogue. And the thing that frustrated me more than anything was I could tell every single one of these characters spoke in the same voice. There was no attempt to differentiate how all of these characters spoke. They all spoke in the exact same sardonic, insincere, ironic way where every other word had to be the F word.
Sorry, I'm smiling just because I'm imagining you in like your living room getting increasingly annoyed while you're reading a book about, I don't know, World War II or something.
That's exactly.
And you'll be putting it down. You'll be taking your glasses off and sort of going.
That is exactly it. That happens quite often, sad enough to say. But so all of these characters all spoke in the same voice, whereas at the moment I'm going back through a rewatch of, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, and you can tell the differentiation in the character voices. Walt doesn't talk like Jesse, Jesse doesn't talk like Saul, Saul doesn't talk like Walt. All of these characters speak in their own distinctive ways, whereas these writers are unable to take themselves and detach themselves from these characters because all of the characters just have to be them.
What's a fundamental lack of awareness? It's sort of I've thought about this a fair amount. It always strikes me when you can always tell when a writer's done this before, even if you don't know the writer at all. You can always tell that it's a self-insert, and it just speaks of an extended period of self-obsession where you've not thought about anyone but yourself for such a long period of time that you're incapable of doing that.
Yeah.
It's like one of the most basic human skills of communicating with other people is being able to imagine what they're like.
Put yourself in,
yes,
put
exactly.
yourself in their mind. Whereas a real writer, if they have to have a self-insert, just does it like George R. R. Martin did in A Song of Ice and Fire, where he's like, I'm going to have Sam Tarly, who's a fat nerd, who's pathetic and cowardly and Weasley, and that's me in the story. And everybody else can just be, themselves as I write them.
Well, he has a bit of a redemption. Not going to spoil it, but, he's not all bad.
He does have a little bit of redemption.
And he's one of the few good people in the entire show.
Yeah, but it is interesting, again, that Martin has explicitly said, oh, yeah, he's me. And who did you write as yourself? Oh, the fat coward. I mean, that's a certain level of honesty. Yeah, so I can respect it. So the most recent example that's been popping up for me of this kind of millennial writing style is this, the Netflix adaptation of the Devil May Cry video game series, executive produced and written by Adi Shankar. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Devil May Cry games. I doubt either of you have ever played them.
I have.
You have? Oh, which one?
Was it the fourth one?
Oh, the one on PS3, yeah.
That's it, yeah.
That's a good game.
Is it one of those games where you need a controller and you need to press the buttons really fast?
Yes.
Not my kind of game.
Fair play.
I only play video games where it's possible to invade France in them.
That's fair. I mean, you do fight demons from hell in them.
If they're from France, I think I could go with it.
There's a white flag there.
Yeah, there is a white...
And they're French.
Yeah. But I love those games. I've played all 5 of them. The DMC, Devil May Cry, doesn't really count. And I will admit I only played 5 minutes of the second one because it was... Even those 5 minutes was enough to tell that it was a dreadful game. But the rest of them, I absolutely love. Some of my favourite games ever. And the thing that you'll notice if you play them is that they're really, really cheesy, as I'll show you in a moment. They're really, really... over the top, but they're also, in the very Japanese way, very, very sincere. When there's a big emotional moment, the characters will drop the act and they will become very sincere and treat a situation with the seriousness it deserves. Not so in this adaptation, where I found this image and posted it and it took off for some reason, but they said, here's the description of the backstory of the show. Of the character Sparda, the demon who is the main character Dante's father. He was a demon knight, whatever that means. Big bad warrior, blah, blah, blah. 2,000 years ago when our world was still connected to their shithole, and Mundus wasn't happy just ruling the shithole. And I guess Sparta woke up one day and realized, hey, this is evil as F. He fought against Mundus, taking out hundreds of his own former legions, kind of the least he could effing do, really.
I hate everything about this.
You can see why I have terminal cancer.
So 2 points here. First of all, I am never going to watch this anyway.
Yep.
But reading that, my reaction is, well, if you don't take yourself seriously, why should I?
That's a good question.
Yeah, with fantasy, there's this little thing known as suspension of disbelief. You've got to sell the universe to people and make them immersed in it. If you don't take it seriously yourself, you're not going to do that. It's going to be bad.
I've read a few of the 30k books now, and they take themselves very seriously, and you can kind of get into it. But
you mean they don't do things like, say, big bad warrior, blah, 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 and completely shit all over the law that they're trying to establish?
Quite, yes.
Yeah, I mean, compare this to the actual intro of the first game, and you'll see what I mean. It's really cheesy. There's Sparta in the background with his big demon sword doing, like, Star Wars guy style, like...
Add Eye of the Tiger there, and it's like a training montage.
You can just there's some Japanese guys with sensors on him and against a green background setting this up.
Yeah, he's practicing his moves against Darth Maul. That's what he's doing there. But it's got the lore dump, it's got the fire. Like I said, it's cheesy, it's over the top, it's silly, but it is actually taking...
It's sincere.
He's taking itself seriously because it is saying, here's Sparta, he's the one good guy out of all of the demons, and that's what made him special. And here's the sincerity versus irony again. The character who delivered those lines that I showed you a moment ago is the same as this character from the game, Lady. And in the games, she's very serious about the whole thing. She's very sincere.
I also like that there's a woman in it, and they just call her Lady.
Yes. She does have a name, but they just call her Lady. And she's cool because she carries a gigantic rocket launcher everywhere. Which, again, is just part of the fun factor of the games, because they take themselves seriously, but not too seriously, because they're Japanese.
The armour seems impractical. She's got an armoured miniskirt, and then the rest of her is...
Oh, that's not armour. Those are just like gun pouches for bullets.
Oh, are they? Okay.
So she's not actually wearing any
right, so if it was hit, that would be the first bit to go up in sparks, then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, presumably.
Right.
But again, the whole point of these character designs was literally all about cool factor.
Yes.
The second game
I appreciate that. Yeah.
The second game had outfit designs by the fashion company Diesel, for instance. It wasn't about, how practical would this be? They fire rocket launchers at one another, and then all of a sudden the main character takes a surfboard ride on one of the rockets as it's going.
How based are they compared to Hugo Boss?
I don't know anything about Diesel. I imagine they're German. They sound German. But as well as that, Josh is going to do some studying for us. Here's how they talk in the original game in DMC3.
Are you crying?
It's only the rain.
The rain already stopped.
Devils never cry.
Again, cheesy, over the top, but
really sincere.
But really sincere, which
Italian.
is what they're Italian. Okay, so pretty based adjacent to Hugo Boss. In that case, here's the Netflix adaptation as interpreted by a Twitter user.
Are you fucking crying?
It's only the rain.
It already stopped fucking raining.
Oh dear.
Devils never cry.
I see.
But the clue is in the title. They
Maybe
may
somewhere
cry.
out there, even a fucking devil may fucking cry when he loses a fucking loved
Turn it
one.
off.
That's not the actual show or anything, but that's how they would write that scene.
I see how. I've got my head round millennial writing now. I kind of get
Yeah.
it.
And then there's the other parts that come with the whole Netflix adaptation of the show. That being that you can see with all of these other... What do all of these shows tend to have in common with the source material that they're adapting?
They don't do it very faithfully.
For a start, I've noticed that The Witcher is relegated to the back of his own poster, and the girl bosses are kind of the prominent ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of girl bossing in these shows, isn't there? There's a lot of complete lack of faithfulness to the source material and a lot of current year messaging in them. And you can see that through the IGN review, which praises it for being a bold indictment of 2000s Americana.
Right.
Huh? I don't remember that being part of the games, personally.
So I grew up on 80s movies that absolutely loved America.
Yes.
And like bigged it up at every possible moment. And then because of these movies got exported around the world.
Programs still love America.
Yeah, because they got exported around the world, everybody liked America because the cultural stuff coming out of it was so upbeat. And I think America can hardly be surprised when the stuff that it's putting out these days loathes itself.
Yeah, leave a certain amount of pessimism and self-loathing to the people who have experience, which is us.
The British.
Yeah.
We're very good at it, actually.
Yeah, okay.
And can you guess, in a show being made in current era, where it's about fighting demons, are the demons just going to be evil creatures, bad guys? Like you could
They're
say,
going to be
maybe orcs, like Lord of the Rings.
They're not going to be a stand-in for politics, are they?
I'm sorry to break it to
Going to be
you, Dan.
Mexicans.
So this is a real clip from the show where America, the real bad guys, invade hell like it's Iraq or Afghanistan.
Found oil in hell.
Finally, basically, yes. And listen to the soundtrack they put to it.
Hang on a minute. Why would you invade hell? What's your military objectives? What does winning look like when you invade
They've
hell?
got so high on post-war liberal ideology that they want to go to hell and take out old Adolf a second time.
No, I think that literally, I think it's a case of religion. I think it's a case of religion bad. They're Christians, so they just hate evil demons. Well, sorry, poor, pitiable demons for no good reason. And again, listen to the music that they've set this to as well. I will turn that off before we get copyright struck. So they're firing missiles into hell. They've opened a portal.
I think firing missiles into hell is a good idea, though.
So do I, but have you considered that the poor demons are actually, wait for it, brown people?
So what the show's trying to say is that all brown people go to hell?
There's some interesting mixed messages there. They're trying to hate on themselves so hard that they kind of gone 360, and it's like, well,
America's become so powerful that even the brown people in hell aren't safe. That's what I like to take away from this.
I, for one, think that Holy Crusade against the demonic forces of hell is a good thing, but I'm a far-right extremist.
But what this
So
video
what would
is
I know?
saying is, if you don't have access to a hell portal, brown people in general do.
I guess so.
I guess,
Right.
maybe. But where have we seen this kind of messaging before? Think of les poor orcs. They just
Yes.
wanted to live a good life. They're poor refugees. Open the gates to Gondor and let them in. Look at these poor demons. They're so hard done in life. They're poor little refugees. Open the portals to Earth and let
Tell
them
you
in.
what is implicit in this is that they think that violent media causes real world violence in much the same way that in the 90s they were talking about violent video games
Well, actually-
and music making people violent, like Tipper Gore.
That's
Al Gore's
something
wife.
that Shredded Nerd discusses in Millennial Characters, because of the fact that, for instance, the whole girl bossing thing is a big thing. Could be seen to be downstream from this idea of, they say, well, men are more violent than women, but we can't say it's just because men have testosterone and are naturally more violent, because that's biological determinism, and postmodern feminism says biology doesn't exist. So therefore, it has to be down to the environment. What's part of the environment is the media people consume. So if you watch Predator and watch Arnold Schwarzenegger having a manly fight against the Predator, therefore that's going to make you more violent. So we need to take Arnold Schwarzenegger out and put Zendaya in.
That explains why lesbians are so violent to their partners then.
They're big Schwarzenegger fans.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's all those girl bosses that's
And-
making them violent.
And the testosterone and steroids as well.
That's
Well,
probably
I just assumed it's because
unironically.
they got no man to tell them to calm down, dear.
That always works, doesn't
Yes.
it?
Every time.
Oh, but it literally
100%,
does, actually.
100% success rate. And there's more clips that are going about where, for instance, Lady is pointing her gun at these poor demonized, no pun intended, refugee evil demons. And again, if you're going for an adaptation of the Devil May Cry series, like, the whole point of Sparda himself is that he's literally the one demon who ever was able to realize being evil is bad. And that's what makes him special. That's what makes his son Dante special. This, if they're all like that, then it completely... But these people don't care about the canon. In this scene on here, they literally make up a whole new lore and canon for the show that has nothing to do with anything in the video games, which makes you ask, why are you adapting this? Is it just because you think the name is marketable? It's probably just because you think the name is marketable. It is, as ever, always, as with Rings of Power, explained by the heat map. Refer to the heat map if you have any questions. It will explain everything to do with leftists for you. And you get dick riders like this. You get, Devil May Cry fans when the Netflix non-canon adaptation doesn't follow the game's lore perfectly. These are the dickheads, these are the wretches, these are the Reddit virgins that are happy to accept the lowered standards for everything in pop culture and make it so that every film that you go to see these days is a wretched abomination.
Can I bring
because
Snow
they're
White
happy
into this?
to just accept it. Go on.
So Snow White did not respect the source material, and nobody went to see it, and they've lost whatever it is, 300, 400 billion on it. Whereas Minecraft, and I took my kids to see the Minecraft movie, apparently that very much does respect the source material, and the cinemas were full, like completely full.
I've seen the clips from the cinemas, and there's, like, every time Jack Black opens his mouth in America, they just start clapping. People start cheering, shitting themselves with pure excitement and joy. It's quite
So
something.
they don't do that in British cinemas, but
They politely give a round.
There was a mild giggle of approval just below the sound level that you'd hear it. So yes,
Yeah,
but for Britain, that's pretty riotous.
that's
But the point is, if you're going to make something about something, you should respect the source material, because that's why people are going to go and see it.
It makes sense, doesn't it? But these kinds of idiots are why this kind of stuff exists in the first place, because they'll just excuse any rubbish that comes comes across them that they know will own the chuds if they pretend to like it. So they pretend to like it, and Netflix makes more of it. On to the man who made it, Adi Shankar. So he's born in 1985, so he is a millennial. So officially a millennial writer. What I found interesting about this was that I just looked through this. I go down and find career. He gives his influences, and then it's got this big section about the Apu problem, where because Adi Shankar, as you can tell, is Indian, he just had a problem with the character Apu in The Simpsons.
He was rarely portrayed negatively. At worst, he was seen as flogging things that were past their sell-by date.
He was an exaggerated caricature in a town made up entirely of exaggerated caricatures.
If
What
anything,
a big surprise.
If anything, the character taught more Americans about India than anything else.
Also, he was an executive producer on the 2012 Dread film, which was awesome. So I can't believe that he is...
I would have thought it was dreadful.
I mean, just coming back to the Apu thing, presumably his issue is that Apu was a kind of authentically Indian stereotype, as opposed to having exactly the same tone of voice as every other character, just happening to be brown.
Well, yeah.
Right.
But then when they got rid of Apu, he said, "Oh well, actually, it's a step sideways. It's not a good thing. It doesn't undo the damage, the damage that Apu caused to society."
I don't think the damage to India's reputation comes from the character of Apu in The Simpsons. Perhaps other kinds.
And then you can see, as I mentioned at the beginning, the incredible self-indulgence of millennial writing, where he's decided to, one, indulge in his own emotional vulnerability, where he says Devil May Cry's antagonist has a goal to open the portal between human and demon realms to guarantee humanity's destruction. His reason for opening the portal and for having smuggled demons into the human realm for years, refer again to the heat map, is to save people who embraced him with open arms after he was scorned by his own kinds. It was a process of, and I'm going to slowly reveal to you the story of this hurt kid, said Shankar. By the end of it, I want you to understand that the biggest enemy in your life is also a hurt kid, just like you. So that's just emotional, basically arrested development.
I don't need sympathy for my enemies. I need tools to crush them.
Yeah. And then he says, Devil May Cry Episode 6 was personal to him for another reason. Asked about the introduction of a new art style, beginning at the moment the kid White Rabbit stepped through a portal into the demon realm, he said, I was born in India, in Kolkata, and if you know anything about Kolkata, it's a lot of rampant poverty everywhere. This is the environment I grew up in. Anytime you go anywhere, you look out the car window and you just see kids that look like you, but they're living in the streets, and it's so overwhelming. My memory of India was not that it was a very dark place. It was this sweet place of sweet people. This happened to them. They were colonized, they were strip-mined, and then bad people took over. So, strange mixed messaging there, which is one, he's saying within the canon of this universe, he's saying that hell is essentially India.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. And
Fair
also
enough.
showing that, again, very self-indulgent, only ever reflects the interests of the writers themselves, can't be about anything greater. The show is basically about his own post-colonial grievances.
And of course, he was born in 1985, and so he never lived in colonial India. It's all post hoc nonsense.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do owe them, what was it, £42 trillion?
The world's economy, yeah.
Yeah, the entire global economy is owed to India, and I'm sure he would agree with that as well. He also had a hand in making the Castlevania adaptation that Netflix put out a few years ago.
I actually like that one.
Well, yeah,
The first season. I watched the first season.
that
It's
had-
actually quite good.
That had a lot of other typical tropes in it, where you can see it reflected in Devil May Cry as well, which is the religion bad, whereas in real Castlevania and the games, religious characters are people fighting Dracula and vampires.
That's a fair point, yeah.
In the show, they're evil people tricking the masses who are doing evil things because religion is evil. They're warmongers. They also made this amazing change where instead of the vampires being afraid of the cross because of Christianity, they're afraid of the cross because of the right angles on it.
Right.
Yes.
Or
And-
geometry phobia or something.
Well, apparently, according to this dialogue here, vampires are basically an evolved predator species. It confuses the shit out of their brains. So, good luck going through a door, sitting at
It's like
a
the vampire
table.
version of Per Capita then. It just doesn't...
It doesn't work for them. It just doesn't work. There is one beneficial thing from this show, though, that I can say, which is that it has led to a spike in sales of the actual games. And if you've not actually played the game before, Samson, we can hear you. If you've not actually played the game before, you should play the games, skip the second one, but the rest of them, top-tier action gameplay, fantastic, really fun stories, really
You're
fun
recommending
characters.
the first one?
I'm recommending the video games. The first Devil May Cry, don't play the second one.
I thought you were talking about Castlevania. Because the first Castlevania was like 30 years ago.
I still play the Castlevania games, they're good too. But yeah, so that's the one good thing to come out of this, which is that a very well-deserving video game franchise has actually got a bit of a sales boost because of this. And apparently they're on sale at the moment as well. So if you feel interested, go and buy them. Don't watch the show, though.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.